Yeah. So look, I think I was in year 8. So I have this particular memory in year 8, and look, I just want to caveat that my family and I love each other, right?
Of course.
But there's all of this framing that gets in the way, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so at year 8 in high school, guys are starting to notice girls, and girls are starting to be interested in guys, and
you're getting boobs.
And I'm going, I'm feeling a bit of an attraction to guys. What's going on there? So, naively I go home and I ask my old man, so Dad, what about gay people? And he goes, well, they're all cursed by God. They're all going to die of AIDS. There's no place for them in the kingdom of heaven.
Oh my gosh.
And so at that moment I'm going, all right, so definitely I'm not gay because I can't be gay. But what do I do with this thing? Right. So that was kind of my first kind of exploring what that might mean within my family context. So I did tell my best friends at school that I think I'm gay, and that had different responses. Some were like, yeah, we love you for who you are, Ben, that's fine, and others were like, that's interesting.
Wow.
And so I went to an independent Christian school, so very Baptist Pentecostal kind of crowd.
And can I just say, you're a really hot-looking man. So the chicks, if I'd had boobs and I'd been in year 8, I was such a skank that I would have put it on you for a pash. Did the chicks just fall in love with you too? Because you are pretty. Do you know what I mean? No, you are. If you can't see this, he's a hottie. Honestly,
Scott would agree.
I don't know what Scott looks like, but he's probably punching.
He's pretty adorable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look.
Did they?
Yeah, look, it's interesting. I developed good, close female friends.
Yeah.
But there was always, I liked the closeness of female friends.
Yeah.
But there was often, not always, but a wanting more. I remember one of my friends said, I'm not going to wait for you forever, Ben.
Oh, poor darling.
And we were really good friends, and I kind of knew that she wanted more, and I just couldn't. Yeah. I couldn't give anything more, and I couldn't be anything more. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it was good to have that friendship kind of break in a way, which was sad because I loved the friendship and I loved this person, but I knew that I couldn't be what they're looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you since? Does she know your story now?
Yeah, we haven't had much contact since
shame.
then. So little bits, but not much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Sorry, I cut you off in the middle. You were unpacking the story. I just had to ask because that's classic.
Yeah. So, I think coming to terms with my sexuality, that early frame of this is basically a curse of God, and if you have anything if you're entertainment, then there's no place for you in the kingdom of heaven, all of that kind of stuff. So you do internalise that.
Did you believe that crap?
At that point I did, but I also believed that maybe what was happening with me wasn't that.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
It was something else?
Yeah, so if I just fixed this little thing,
right, then
I'd be okay, right? Okay. So that my early journey then was about how do I fix this same-sex orientation?
Yeah.
Right? How do I, there's a line in the Book of Mormon, turn it off like a light switch. I wanted that light switch, you know what I mean? I wanted to find that switch just to turn it to straight, thank you.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was looking for that. And so God and I kind of had this deal, which is probably my deal rather than God's deal, but I'm just going to give my whole life and serve you anyway, and this thing will just, I don't know what to do with it. I'm just going to put it there, right? So it wasn't until a little later that one of the churches I was involved in started to talk about sexual wholeness and ex-gay therapy and all of that kind of stuff, where I'm like, I got to get involved with that. That's the answer. That's the light switch, right?
What decade was this?
Yeah, so we're talking in the 90s.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I got involved involved in a 3-year journey. And I think the story that I told last week about that prayer meeting, that was at an international conference in New Zealand where people have gathered from all over
the world. Yeah, wow.
That's right. And that was the critical point for me to kind of exit that this isn't providing the hope that I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And God, if you're really in this way, is nothing happening. And in fact, this is not really work. Later, Exodus International, which was a large ex-gay movement, they folded. They had offered an apology to the harm that had been caused through their ministries in the US. So it was an interesting time. I think I started to. It was actually an Anglican minister who said to me, you need to afford yourself some grace to explore what this really is.
Yeah.
And I thought he was a bit of a heretic by even suggesting that. But that's when I started to, instead of just seeing this as a curse or something I've got to destroy or turn off, what if this is just part of human life, and then how do I live with this faithfully? Right?
Ben, were you in the priesthood yet?
Yeah, so at that point, that's right. So I'd gone through seminary. I'd been ordained. I was in my first placement within the Anglican Church, and at that point in time, my line. So I was open through the whole process
about
my sexuality, but I was in the single and celibate lane. That I have this thing, but I believe it's wrong, and. And so that's kind of where I was at. But, one of the things that started to shift in me was, I just do all these weddings and they're so beautiful. And I just went, oh. And, you read the Genesis text, it's not good for man to be alone, right?
Yeah.
And you go, God's made us for relationships.
Wow.
God's made us to be with each other and in some ways to share life in a beautiful way of intimate life sharing, and I feel like I'm called to that, right? Not called to constantly fight this
switch,
this thing, and so that became the tension within myself of what about life-giving relationships? Just I want the privilege to be able to journey through life with someone. It's such a beautiful privilege and a beautiful gift to be able to do. And I know it doesn't always work for everyone, right? But and it's just not good to be alone. It's just not good to be alone. So then I started to shift to this point of discerning. Maybe I can start to develop some friendships, relationships, see what might emerge. And that was so scary.
I bet it was.
Oh, my goodness.
And you're rocking that sexy black outfit with the covered buttons that the Anglican priests wear, Jonty. Can you imagine it? Young Ben, hotted up in one of those.
I'm picturing...
Can you imagine the men checking and the chicks wanting to...
Well, I'm just picturing that show Fleabag. Have you seen Fleabag?
No.
There's a sexy priest in that.
Oh, yeah, there you go. There's the Fleabag.
Well, there was a Catholic priest in a community I won't name whom I was good friends with, and the town's nickname for him was Father What a Waste.
That's great. You've killed mess.
Oh, I wish I'd thought to say that. That's right. Oh, dear, so hot. There was a movie called The Thornbirds in the 80s, and he was a hot priest. He totally gave in to the chicks. Yeah. Oh, my gosh. Sorry.
I love... I want to go back to this thing with... I guess we kind of cut you off. Was that leading anywhere before I kind of...
Father What a Waste.
Yeah.
Just that sense of... what does it mean to be human? That question started to become more in focus. And what does it mean to be a follower of Jesus, fully human, right? And so instead of how do I get rid of sin, and it's not that I don't not believe in sin, but that had caught up in the whole sin infrastructure of the taught theology that I had been given. And so to have that shift occur was quite scary. And I remember the first person that I started to have feelings for, and they had feelings for me, and it was the scariest thing on the planet. The scariest thing on the planet.
All right.
And I thought I was going to hell.
Yeah, I bet you did.
Like all of that
man.
theology, teaching, family, the
terrific.
fear of being excluded from my family, which did happen, but is in better space now. I honestly thought that, right now I'm going to go to hell.
Yeah.
Why am I a minister? Why am I here? It was a pretty confronting,
Dark, I would imagine.
space.
Did you feel like you needed to be repentant?
Well, it's not that I hadn't done anything necessarily wrong.
No, but just thinking
But
how
we'd
hot
actually
this person
communicated that we liked each other.
Yeah, wow.
You know what I mean? Like, think about going back to primary
Oh
school.
my gosh, Ben.
Or not primary school, but early high school. Those, I think I like
Yeah.
you. Like, I'm starting to do this in my mid to late 20s,
Oh,
right?
Ben.
So it's a much later journey.
Yeah.
You do all your kind of mistakes when you're young and try to
Yes.
kind of work it all out.
Yes.
And so I had a bit of a breakdown, and I left. I said I need a break from church for a bit, so I kind of took off. I went to Sydney, went to Mardi Gras.
Did you?
First time, again,
Wow.
Mardi Gras was always the big evil, thing.
Yeah.
Did you just say evil?
It was
evil
in my
seen in your
in the world that I
lens?
grew up in.
Okay.
That was a celebration of just promiscuity and sin. And I'm not saying that there aren't elements of that. I'm just saying that was. But I discovered beautiful people.
Yeah.
I've discovered a most amazing, beautiful people. There's one particular trans woman who identifies as woman, who just took me under her wing and said, Ben, welcome to the community.
Oh, how lovely! How did that make you feel?
And I'm like, oh, wow, I wish the church was like this.
Yeah.
Yes.
I wish the church was like this.
Oh my gosh.